Yeah, exactly. I mean, as a parent, I would feel the same way. It's up to me whether to take that risk or not. But a lot of times, as a parent too, you don't know the risk all the time. So then you're taking a risk without knowing everything.
Hi, everyone, and thanks for coming back to another recording of Foul Ball Safety Now Talks. I'm Jordan Skop. I'm with Brianna Ludwig. We're at the very end of May, baseball season 2026. I'm excited to bring on our guest host in a few minutes. Before I do that, I usually like to go over how Foul Ball Safety Now started back in 2019, what I've been up to for the last 7 seasons, and usually ending my opening with news updates. So we do have some unfortunate news to share, unfortunately. But Foul Ball Safety Now started back in 2019. I saw something very disturbing on the news. A little child got hurt in Houston. A Chicago Cubs player hit a ball very hard, and it connected with the baby's head. And unfortunately, business as usual back then and business as usual back now allow these things to continue to happen. So that's unacceptable. I found a journalist back in 2019 by the name of Brendan, who's been with me all this time. Brendan and I have been interviewing victims and baseball players and people that haven't really discussed this topic openly. It could be even media people. We interviewed 2 ESPN broadcasters. I think we've interviewed close to 90 people formally, people that have agreed to be interviewed with us, victims, baseball players, and others. And that's going to be part of our book series because this is ongoing and this is called a continuum. And that's what we do at Foul Ball Safety Now. We try to bring news every week about what's been happening, and we bring on guests who may not have thought it was much of an issue a few days earlier, and we'll bring on our guests shortly, as I mentioned. Also working with Brianna Ludwig now for more than a year and a half. She's been doing research and communications, and she's been part of these recordings with me, this Continuum series, for 8, 10 months. We've been going pretty strong, so it's great to have Brianna around. It's disturbing out there. I think I'm justified in sounding the alarm bells until we start a larger conversation, and we all need to look in the baseball mirror and accept what we see, and I've been trying to do that, and I'm not gonna turn away from things that keep coming my way. I have things on the website, different tabs based on different experiences. So, for example, I have something called a new baseball statistic, present traumatic stress disorder. Now, why would I come up with that statement? Because when I meet over the last 4 or 5 months, 50, 60 men who've told me their stories about their own experiences. How am I meeting these 50, 60 men? I'm actually putting ads on places like Indeed, like lawyers wanted to organize conference calls with other lawyers, hundreds of dollars an hour. So what happens? Lawyers come calling and saying, "Oh, yeah, I want to organize conferences." Pediatricians, same thing. Pediatricians wanted to organize conference calls with other pediatricians. And I've had some conferences, not to great success, but I've had many calls. Similar with the baseball players and coaches, past and present, they too want to dip their toe in the water on this with me. So I probably have had 50, 60 calls with these guys. I would say half of them were very revealing because they've shared with me a lot of things that go through their minds, like, "Hey, Jordan, every time I swing the bat, I have anxiety. Hey, Jordan, on kids' nights, my feelings really spike." Well, of course they should. These guys just want to play the game free and clear. And unfortunately, the last generation hasn't passed down to the next generation that opportunity because baseball players are human beings, and young guys are telling me they want to play the game free and clear, and they're not. And that's not cool. So that's been an interesting experience. I've had 2 conferences with these guys, but I've learned a lot. So these conferences are helpful. Have they moved the needle? No, they really have not. But I'm at it all the time trying to meet new people. I try to incentivize people. Their time is valuable, whether they're lawyers, pediatricians, or baseball players, past or present. They too are curious about this because they may have not had a forum to discuss this. So I will continue doing those things. Rented out some airplanes, went to court in Illinois, Peoria, Illinois, had no netting past end of dugouts. Everyone could see this horrible video from 2019 that demonstrates that no human being should be subjected, let alone a baby, to balls coming right at their head. But this is still happening in 2026. Similar layouts in many professional cities. Not acceptable. This is 7 years after the world saw this horrific video, and why business as usual is allowed to hit balls towards babies' heads to unsuspecting families. Many of those people have not been given that ESPN video, which we call Exhibit A, that ESPN produced back in 2019, which threads together very disturbing videos. Peoria's case went to court. We were in court from July of 23 to July of 24. I hired an attorney. We went a few rounds. We made some points. Peoria eventually extended the netting. And when all teams extend nets, or when they do extend nets, it's an improvement. It's not a solution. We want solutions. We want a team of architects, engineers, and designers in every zip code to render up solutions because they're very capable of doing that. And we don't want anyone hurt inside or outside ballparks anymore. Modesto, California, a lawyer called me a year ago. Hey, Jordan, our client was hit in the head outside the ballpark. Unacceptable. Because why? In some of these smaller places like Peoria and Modesto, clearly balls are hitting pavement, window, and in this case, it hit the lady in the head. And there's hundreds of ballparks, including colleges. We're just getting started with that based on what happened a little over a year ago when a Queens College student contacted me and said, hey, Jordan, Google Earth Queens College. You'll see there's an elementary school right by our field. The balls are going over the sides. Yeah, that's legitimate concern. These guys deserve to play the game free and clear. Previous generations have not made it possible for young guys. They're sort of indoctrinated into this culture of silence. Maybe their own families are informed about safest places to enter into ballparks and sit. But people like Brianna, they have a right to know where to park the car and where to go in. Brianna has a baby. She'll share that with us later. 2 years old. Babies and parents should have an opportunity to park the car. I don't want to hear stuff about it's unspoken not to park there. That's what somebody told me from a college recently. Oh, nobody parks there. Really? Nobody? Well, then how about you say nobody parks there instead of saying unspoken, nobody parks there? Based on what Brendan and I have done in the last few weeks, we're following up with a person in California who found me through Brianna's network. We spoke with her about a month ago. She was unfortunately hit in May of 2025. Right now, it's May 2026. She's contemplating whether she should go for surgery or not. She was hurt at a Dodger game. Terrible situation that she had to go through. She even went to her high school reunion a month later, all bruised up. And I'm hoping to go to California and meet with her and her graduating class from years past. And hopefully they'll advocate for common sense where the Dodgers are playing because balls are still making their way over nets and cracking people in the face. So nets are an illusion, but it's not a solution. And people should not be rudely disrupted during their lives with these horrible incidences. Another situation that's unfolding right now is a situation that came about in New York, second bat that made its way over the net that could definitely crush your face. We have two videos, one June 22nd, 2025, Yankees versus Orioles, either on MLB highlights or House of Highlights. It's a 15, 12, 15, 13-second video. You can go to the 8-minute marker and you can see a bat just make its way right over the net. Similar May 19, 2026, Yankees versus Toronto, Yankee Stadium. I think it was House of Highlights or it was MLB Highlights, sorry. 2 minutes and 15-second marker. You'll hear the announcer say, "The broken bat just went over the net." And why the heck are broken bats and regular bats still making their way over the net at Yankee Stadium? And then in Seattle in 2025, the whole world saw together a broken bat go over the net. And you could even hear the announcer say, "Yikes, look out." He was saying upon commercial. It's up on my website at Foul Ball Safety Now. So lots to always get to with Foul Ball Safety Now. We're writing letters. We're trying to keep up. We want people to look in the baseball mirror. Don't hide what you see. And we want to remind everyone that we will continue showing you what we can. Brianna, how are you today?
Doing great, Jordan. Excited to dive into this super important conversation today. So, without further ado, I'd love to invite on our guest host for the day, who also hosts his own podcast. Welcome, Michael Underwood.
I just want to say thank you guys for providing this opportunity.
Hey, Michael. Perfect. Nice to meet you today.
Nice to meet you as well.
Terrific. So bring on what you think is important that you think others would be curious to learn about. We hope you're prepared to go at us with or without agreeing with us. It's okay.
Yeah, that's no problem. So you said you started doing this in 2019. How common are serious injuries compared to what fans realize?
Well, I mean, I started back in 2019 because I thought that I saw something on the news that was very disturbing, and I was wondering why the status quo would operate this particular way. I'm a knowledgeable baseball fan, been going to games all my life. Even 20 something years ago in Brooklyn, New York, I was outside a Brooklyn Cyclones game in Coney Island where a ball just comes over the side and hits a young person we were with right in the forearm. Other times, sitting very close wasn't my regular thing. I was always a little intimidated by getting hurt by a line drive. Definitely, less than 1% of people have been hurt or seriously injured by foul balls. There's no doubt about it. But how common is it? It's all the time. There's new people that are always entering into the less than 1% injured club. There's clearly 100 million baseball fans. I don't think there's been 1 million people that have had life-altering injuries, but there have been thousands of people that have had life-altering injuries and psychological trauma. And we're learning about things because people find us, lawyers find us, and it's disturbing that Brianna found even in 2025 on TikTok, 45 people have self-reported injuries. Some of them may have had a concussion, but I'm not going to say they did. But some of them clearly had bruises on their faces. And some of them stated they were never coming to games again. And these are balls that are making their way over the net. And I'm just wondering why a billion-dollar organization would allow their affiliates and their main stakeholders allowing business as usual to hurt people inside and outside ballparks.
Okay. And then in 2019 when you started this, did MLB teams acknowledge the issue early on or did they just kind of blow it off?
Well, they said something in that 5-minute video we call ESPN's Exhibit A. We see, some of the media is asking some questions about the major league teams about upgrades. Now, a lot of those teams did extend their nets the following season, but they also, those 30 MLB teams, are associated and even own some of those 120 affiliates. You have the A ball and the double A and the triple A ball, all of that. And why are those teams not extended netting? Because the last I checked, they're still 200-pound men. They may not be making $1 million a year, Michael, but they're making, 15 bucks an hour. But hey, they still hit it hard. And why aren't they extending the nets in those places? And I can certainly walk you through on all the noise that came from MLB over the last 6 years on the eventual statements, but it took years.
Oh, I'm sure.
I feel that there still hasn't been true acknowledgement because this is still a problem. I mean, what can you say to victims, and how can you truly apologize to anyone if you know that tomorrow someone else can be struck in their seat at any of these ballparks? We know of 3 fan injuries from this season already. We haven't even gone and really dug and tried to look through social media like we did last season and find the self-reported injuries yet. As long as this problem is still ongoing, as long as people are still getting struck, I don't think that we can really say that they've addressed the issue.
Okay. And how fast can foul balls realistically travel into the stands?
Well, it's really a split second, you know. One of our recent guests says we're not Matrix. I don't really follow Matrix, but I usually use the phrase, we're not action figures or superheroes. So if anyone sees that 5-minute video from ESPN, which we call Exhibit A, you're going to just see how fast they go, that you're not supposed to be directly on the other side of that kind of thing. And it's just not humanly possible to get out of the way, and why professional baseball is allowing near misses on a regular basis and direct hits on occasion is really, for everyone to look at. I think it's really appalling. So we just want to remind us all that we think we're in the dark ages, and we think most fans are coming to the game thinking no strings attached, no conditions attached. But really, there are strings and conditions attached, Michael. And we just want to let them know that all those experiences, all those years, maybe they were never affected. Maybe they even experienced a close call, but everyone had a nervous laugh. Nobody went home, but nobody connected the dots that somebody could have been blinded the day earlier, the day later. And then you would have seen less people there with their kids, I guess.
So, what would you say are the most common injuries?
I think from what we heard is usually the head is exposed, based on where the seats are, but I really don't know. I can't really say what the most common injuries are. We know NBC Sports did an investigation. It's on somewhere on the website. It implied that 5,000 people reported to first aid between 2012 and 2019. That was a study that I thought was pretty good, because 4 of the 30 teams' first aid contractors shared their data with NBC on that particular report. It did not include the 26 other teams, but if you extrapolated the numbers from based on the 4, it may be enough to survey what the other 26 would have also had. And then if you really go back, let's say 8 years earlier, even though there was no study done, there were always less nets years ago. So you may be able to say, well, maybe the 8 years earlier, it was similar or even worse. And that's not even including the 5 times as many more games played in other professional baseball. There's 2,460 MLB games every single season, but there's 14,000 other professional games every single season. And how many thousands of people have had concussions or lost eyes? Can't really tell you. So I'm not really in a position right now to tell you if it's a finger that's mostly damaged or from trying to catch a foul ball or defend themselves from a foul ball, or a facial injury, but somewhere probably above the waist, because your waist and below are usually blocked by the seat, I think. I'm not sure, Michael.
Yeah, and I would agree with that. Are there, with the people that you've seen take those head hits, are there long-term neurological damage from that?
Oh, most definitely. We've interviewed probably 20 victims, people that have been seriously injured by foul balls. Even the widower of the gentleman whose wife who passed away a few days after she got hit at the Dodger game, she was hit in the head. Post-neurological, oh, yeah. We have a little girl by the name of Alexis. We've interviewed 2 girls by the name of Alexis. Both now are late teenagers, but one was 4 and one was 10 when they were both struck. The 10-year-old was on a concourse buying a snack. Unfortunately, she did not have any long term. The 4-year-old, the father tells me, she's now 16, 18, something like that. We spoke to her a few years ago. He would tell me that she would forget things, and throughout her years growing up, that certain things like, hey, when you come up from the basement, bring up this. And then she'd forget simple tasks like that. And that's tough. And then we spoke with another child who's now probably in her mid-30s, who's a mother of 2. We were introduced to her from one of these pediatric, curious people that we met on Indeed. She was unconscious for 4 or 5 days, hit by a ball at a major league game. And she's got physical and psychological, emotional issues, and she acknowledged them to us. Yeah, there's no doubt about it. Baseballs are very hard, and they hurt, and they do serious damage.
So, do you think most fans sitting near the field truly understand the risks they're taking?
No, that's the whole message I'm trying to get across to everyone, and all of the times they had been to games, when they realize the data that we're sitting on and the data that we possess, they're going to be offended. They're gonna hopefully feel upset that baseball had every opportunity over the winter months to share data about what happened the year before and what they could have anticipated for the year after. Clearly, the last decade or two, Michael, they've been tracking every ball. But certainly since 1970, when a 14-year-old boy got hit at Dodger Stadium and died a few days later, it was 45 years until MLB started considering or putting up netting above the dugout. Why didn't they tell season ticket holders at Dodger Stadium and throughout America that what happened to Allen could happen on the next time a 100-mile-an-hour ball goes over the dugout? Now, most of them miss. Maybe they hit a chair or a beer, but I don't think families would appreciate knowing if there were hundreds of those situations every year. I think they'd be offended. So I'm not sure, but clearly let everyone get curious and find out and demand to know just how many near misses were there. I want to know. I want to know how offended I really should be retroactively, right? The expression better late than never. Try to find something out. So we just want people to get curious with us. We're just effectively, Michael, trying to start a conversation.
If we had
Exactly.
some respectful transparency, so you can make the decision as an adult, as a parent for your children. In 2018, Linda Goldblum was struck at Dodger Stadium and died a few days later, and her death went unreported for 8 months. So, families and probably children were sitting in a section where, unbeknownst to them, a woman had suffered injuries that ended ultimately in her death. There needs to be transparency in the form of people were concussed here, somebody was blinded in this section. That way, you can make an informed decision for yourself as an adult. If you want to take the risk, you're an adult, take the risk. But I think a lot of parents would be like, okay, yeah, my child is not sitting there. But no one has the opportunity to make that decision because the information isn't readily available.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, as a parent, I would feel the same way. It's up to me whether to take that risk or not. But a lot of times, as a parent too, you don't know the risk all the time, so then you're taking a risk without knowing everything.
Ditto. Yeah, that's what we're trying to do. We're just trying to get everyone up to speed on what they may have missed and what the status quo is today. And I have no problem with thrill seekers, but they can't bring the kids. If you want to take a line drive to the neck or have your potentially beer explode or your chair crack, go ahead, but please advertise it that way. People who run with bulls, I bring this example up a lot. They run with bulls in places like Spain. They're not bringing the nieces and the nephews. It's not going to happen. You can't bring the little guys, but you can get trampled if you feel like it. And unfortunately, we're talking hundreds of thousands of foul balls, and baseball probably knows to the penny just how fast they're going. We have something on the website called Exhibit A1. Exhibit A is the 5-minute ESPN video. Exhibit A1 is a published report from 2019. Brendan and I took a lot of our own research and we incorporated it into one report, and we call it Exhibit A1. There was that showed the percentage of foul balls that went into certain sections. 49.9% of balls went into a section. It appeared to be past end of dugout. We multiplied how many foul balls there are per game. There's 53 foul balls in a 9-inning game, and that's not even including batting practice. But let's say we cut it in half. We cut it down to 25 instead of so we don't look like we're exaggerating or inflating anything. So let's call it 25 foul balls in a 9-inning game. There's 14,000 professional games every single year. This is not major leagues. These are the other professional leagues and the affiliates where the netting may be less. And we're talking 14,000 times 25, that's 350,000. Now, if almost half of them, 170,000, give or take, 175,000, are they going at 20 miles an hour to those hot zones, or are they going at 100? Well, you know what? It's probably a mixture of both. And what the heck is that all about? And you could kind of retrace your steps like, "Oh, honey, didn't we used to go to that ballpark where there was no netting past the end of the dugout?" "Yep." "Look at this statistic." "Yeah." "Look at this." Oh my goodness. So maybe those 4 times a year, maybe there was a close call here or there, but obviously, there could have been a direct hit, and nobody wants to be walking down the street when it's predictable rocks coming down from the 40th floor. I don't know. I'm just trying people to make their own conclusion or at least make their own interpretation of what we bring, Michael.
Okay, so one thing that I was
Yeah.
kind of surprised about when I was researching for this is
Uh-huh.
the baseball rule. So,
Yes.
do you think that the baseball rule is outdated, and should teams bear more legal responsibility for these things?
Oh, of course. And back in 1913, I think the management knew, the owners knew that they were protected. I have a dark humor comment, where I would say something, like once they were done figuring out their legal lees and all their padding their corporations against protection of getting lawsuits, they said, "Let the maiming commence," because what are the fans gonna do once they get smashed? Most lawyers won't take the case. It's a very difficult uphill just to get your case heard. So many lawyers aren't gonna do 50 hours worth of work and find out their case isn't even being heard. Personal injury lawyers is who you'd be seeking, and most personal injury lawyers are looking for, slam dunks. They'll work for free because they know at the end they'll get their 1/3. May take them a year or 2, but they know they'll get their big settlement. In this case, it's very difficult. Many people haven't been able to find an attorney. So, if the baseball rule is abolished, from what I'm told, it's an act of Congress. And once that came down, all of a sudden the landscape of baseball would change entirely. You'd probably have these billionaires seeking out the architects, engineers, and designers to make sure it's the most sophisticated and safe against bats and balls from reaching stands and parking lots. But, right now, if you ask me, does MLB have a sophisticated department overseeing netting? I think it's probably more like one guy wearing too many hats. So I'm glad you brought that up. But yeah, it's time to get rid of the baseball rule. And hopefully, we'll all recall back in 2026 and before the dark ages, and then hopefully not too much longer into the future. Hope we get to a place where we're at a place where it's solution and it's a civilized baseball society. Right now, it's the unknown factors and people don't know what's really happening when business as usual is surprising people on a regular basis and people are getting hurt.
If another fatal foul ball accident happened tomorrow, do you
Mhm.
think that baseball would change more aggressively?
I don't know. It's been a slow crawl, and again, it's inevitable that the next injury is gonna happen. We actually define these situations as not accidents. We describe them as incidents because it's predictable. And I think I found that in some dictionary a while back when I was starting out with foul ball safety now. So I usually describe these foul ball situations that hurt as incidents.
No. So we've seen 2 fatalities on the major league level already, and there was no avalanche of change and response. So that would sort of lead me to lean towards no if another fatality were to happen. But at the same time, times are changing and we are a very now social media forward world. So I think it would also depend on the attitude of people online. If the incident wasn't buried and a lot of people were being empathetic online and treating it very seriously, and we had a lot of numbers, maybe they would react solely to, like, save face publicly. That might be a possibility, but just given the history of the incidents that have already occurred and the reactions, I would say probably not.
Yeah, and I mean, it's kinda crazy to me because if you look at other sports or even workplaces, everything is kinda based around safety, and then so it's kinda weird to me that they're not so worried about that.
Yeah, they're not, and unfortunately, there's been, Linda back in 2018 and people we've met that have been blinded. Back in 1979, one of my lawyers introduced me to her girlfriend, who was a teenager at the time, and this is an interesting story because her name is Jenny. Jenny was blinded at a Met game in New York, and she's telling us a story that years later, her 8-year-old is playing Little League, and she was openly nervous about her 8-year-old playing Little League, probably because of what happened to her. And maybe the 8-year-old was trying to please his mother because he obviously felt or sensed that she was nervous, and he ended up quitting baseball at 8. And now that 8-year-old could be 30 years old, and maybe he's telling his own child, "Maybe you don't wanna play baseball. Look what happened to your grandmother." And we know this because it's a generational effect. Those families, those people in the less than 1% injured club, they will be affected and their generations will be affected. And they won't have a wholesome experience with baseball. And that's unfortunate because baseball has an opportunity to be wholesome. It's We've been under the illusion, and most of us still feel wholesome apple pie, unconditional, no strings attached, great times. But in reality, we know too much. There's always been strings and conditions attached to the experience, and people find out very disruptively. And yeah, so we're just gonna try to be pleasant or healthy aggression, Michael. And it's really great that you're contributing to the conversation. And we'll keep doing this. And we appreciate that. Did you have any other questions or thoughts for us?
I think the one last thing I would ask is, how
Sure.
would you respond to fans who say netting ruins the experience?
I'm not one to tell them, oh, don't worry, you'll get used to it. But others have said they've gotten used to it. But I'm not gonna give you that opinion. I'm just gonna lay out what I know and let the architects, engineers, and designers who get paid the big bucks figure it out. But obviously, people who are still showing up where there are nets clearly in front of their faces, where they used to not be. So that's something. But I'm not one to tell you exactly what the solutions are or what the experience is. It's above my pay grade, Michael. Maybe it's above all of our pay grades because we're not those people. But when it comes to architects, engineers, and designers who are also baseball fans, I'm sure they can make a winning experience. I'm sure the public relations and the promotion people at all the teams can come up with compensation for the 11-year-olds that always anticipated catching a foul ball. That's what little kiddies live for before they reach puberty. That's their go-to stimulation. I get it. I was a 9-year-old once, and, man, the urge to catch a ball, you know? I say that in a jokingly way, but Put your heads together, promotion department. These kids, this is what they live for. I think once you become a little older, it wears off a little bit. So there you go.
All right. Well, I don't have anything else. I just want to say thank you guys. I love the conversation. I love the work you're doing, and I'm glad you're here doing it.
Yeah, Michael. As someone who hosts your own talk show, what have you learned about capturing people's attention? And how do you think we can get the general public to pay more attention to this important issue?
I've learned that it's very hard to capture people's attention. I'm not sure quite what it takes yet, but I think just keep on doing what you're doing, and people will eventually gravitate towards that because if you believe it, they'll believe it.
Well, that's great. That is terrific. All right. I think that was a great call, great recording. Really want to thank Michael and Brianna, and we'll be at it very soon again. And talk to you all soon. Thank you.